Tuesday, Shams Charania of The Athletic released an article about some trade rumors around NBA players, and specifically Jakob Poeltl was mentioned in the article. So I want to dive into this article from Shams, but then also go a step further and show, about the teams that were referenced in this article. What do those teams have to provide in the event that the Spurs wanted to trade with those teams for Jakob Poeltl, if they wanted to send Jakob Poeltl to those teams? So this article came out on Tuesday. Like I said, it was called NBA Trade Deadline, What Shams is Hearing About Jakob Poeltl, John Collins, Fred VanVleet, and more. Okay, so we're just going to obviously focus on the part about Poeltl. So here are some of the big takeaways from Shams per this article. He mentioned that Poeltl is gaining significant trade interest from teams like the Toronto Raptors and Boston Celtics. So we know that over the weekend, Adrian Wojnarowski, back on Friday of ESPN, had mentioned that Poeltl was going to start, the Spurs are going to start seeing significant offers for Poeltl. Now, Woj didn't actually say any specific teams, but here Shams does go a step further and actually name some teams, the Raptors and Celtics, who have both been linked to Poeltl in the past with trade interest, especially Toronto after sending him from Toronto to San Antonio a few years back. They've been a team that's been in the rumor mill for Poeltl. Now, some other things that Shams mentioned, and also it goes back to what Woj said, is that the Spurs have offered an extension of 4 years, $58 million before the season ends. According to Shams, this offer has been declined because Poeltl can probably earn more in the offseason when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. According to Shams' article, other executives believe that the free agency salary for Poeltl could be in the $20 million per year range, and that makes sense because when we talked about that on the latest Spurs cast, we had talked about a projection from Profit X that kind of had Poeltl's salary in that kind of like $16 to like $20 million range. So that makes sense there. And then this last part is just kind of this wasn't in the article, but this is just going over where Poeltl's deal stands. So he is in the final year of his deal for this season. He is earning $9.4 million, and then in the summer, whether he's on the Spurs or another team, he's going to have a cap hold of $17.9 million on the books this summer. Again, he will be an unrestricted free agent this coming summer. So now that we know that, again, Shams mentioned two teams here, I want to dive into those two teams that he mentioned, the Celtics and the Toronto Raptors. So my question is, what might a deal look like with Boston? Let's just say that the Spurs and Boston really got serious about moving Poeltl to Boston. So let's just go through what would be needed in a trade for Poeltl to the Celtics. So for the contracts to work in a deal, the Celtics are probably gonna have to send San Antonio Gallinari's contract, Danilo Gallinari's contract, and then also one extra player, probably a player like at the end of the bench rotation, someone like Justin Jackson or maybe like Blake Griffin, Luke Cornett. I don't think the Celtics would send Peyton Pritchard because he has been part of their lineup, and going back to the finals last year, he was a key member of their team. So again, Gallinari's contract's most likely needed in this scenario, plus another veteran player here. Now, the Celtics do have a lot of first-round picks. These are the picks without any kind of protections on them right now that the Celtics have. They have 2024, 2025, 2026, 27, and 29. So they have multiple first-round picks. And I'm not saying they're going to give all those picks to the Spurs, but at least one of those picks, if San Antonio, if that's what they want, is at least one first-round pick for Poeltl, then Celtics have plenty of picks in the coming years. Now, Profit X has an AI model that they use to build trade packages, what they think both teams would if a deal was made, where it would work out for both teams. And so their model has Poeltl for Grant Williams, and this model financially this wouldn't work. You would have to put another player along with Grant Williams, maybe a player like Gallinari, like I said. But in this event, I feel like that would be too much, where I think Boston wouldn't want to give the Spurs a first round pick, because Grant Williams is seen more so like he's definitely a crucial part of their team, Boston, and also he's more that young developing player the Spurs could acquire. But I again, there's like that give and take of it. They're probably not going to get a first round pick if Grant Williams had to be part of the deal. So if a deal works out with Boston, in my opinion, I think it'll be something based on that first package of like Gallinari and another veteran, and it's really more so to get the first round pick from Boston. So again, that's kind of the assets that the Celtics have in the event that they were going to try to make a deal with San Antonio for Jakob Poeltl. Now let's go ahead and look at what the Toronto Raptors, what they have in terms of if they were going to try to build a package in San Antonio. So what might a deal look like with the Raptors? For the contracts, again, to work in a deal, they have multiple ways that the Raptors could make this work. They could put in two former Spurs, Thaddeus Young and Juancho Hernangomez. Those two contracts work for Poeltl, or even a deal like Khem Birch and Juancho Hernangomez for Poeltl. So there's different ways that they can put some veterans in deals to make the salaries work. Now, Toronto, like Boston, has a lot of first-round picks. They actually have more. They have 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. They have 8 first-round picks. Again, if the Spurs want one first-round pick, they can try to negotiate with Toronto to see which pick that would be. So again, as far as first-round picks assets. The Raptors have a bunch of those. Now, Profit X's trade value package, they actually have 2 models that they build. Package 1 is Poeltl for Malachi Flynn and Precious Achiuwa. And in this scenario, salary-wise, this wouldn't work. The Raptors would still need to put in a veteran player. One more player would be needed in this type of deal. And from this one, I'm not sure. Again, I think that the Spurs lose their leverage in terms of wanting first-round picks for Poeltl in this one, because the Raptors will be giving up 2 players that are young players developing who are still on their rookie scale contracts where they have team options for next year. So I think that the Raptors don't want to probably put a first-round pick in this scenario if they were to have to negotiate with that type of deal. And then the second package that Profit X has is Malachi Flynn, Khem Birch, and Achiuwa for Poeltl. And again, same thing there, where I don't know that the Raptors are going to want to give up a first-round pick if they're sending out 2 of their younger players who are still up and coming and still on their rookie contracts. So that's kind of the trade assets that Boston and Toronto have in the event that they were going to negotiate with San Antonio and try to put a package together for Jakob Poeltl. We may see more teams come out, in the coming weeks as the trade deadline continues to approach in early February. But again, I was just very interested in that article from Shams, and I really wanted to kind of just dive in to see the pick scenario for both teams and where this, what salaries would need to be included to make this one of these types of deals work. I do want to give a shout out to the references that I used for this video. The Athletic.com is obviously where I got all that information in terms of the trade rumor from Shams Charania, excellent writer there at The Athletic. ProfitX.ai, if you haven't checked out their site, make sure you check that out. They have a lot of different statistical models and also financial outlook models. And then, of course, I got the draft pick information if you want to check from RealGM.com. So I do recommend them if you want to get some, what kind of picks do other teams have. So for Project Spurs, I am Paul Garcia. Have a great evening.